The dinner party. It's like a whole bit of about manners and stuff. Just like I said last week.
This game on table manners. Betty, our hostess, is having a few of her friends to her home for a birthday party. She has been to any number of little parties like this, but this is the first time she has given a party all by herself. Like everyone else, she thinks that her etiquette is perhaps not perfect, but good enough so that there are no glaring errors. She is
Errors
proud of her table
at a birthday
arrangement and
party.
she deserves a word of congratulation. But the housekeeper must tell Betty she has noticed a few errors. A napkin is out of place.
So
The
what?
butter knife belongs on the butter dish, not next to the meat knife. And a water glass. Small matters, but they are important.
You need all
They
that
show
for a
whether or
birthday
not your
party.
habits of etiquette are correct.
Whatever happened to, well, like this probably later on.
Correct,
But,
or is
like,
definitely correct.
all you need is
Betty's
just a
confident
paper
to shake
plate
her
and a
fist,
plastic
and she has
fork.
doubts of her correctness. Should she have preceded her guests into the room? Is she
What
directed
kind
them
of
to the
birthday
place
party is
properly?
this?
Should Betty have used place cards? The young man who is trying, too late, to assist Betty with her chair is Bob. It is his birthday that is being celebrated, and his host. He seems to feel at ease and just act as she always does. Notice now what a way of opening his napkin.
I don't think anyone does this
Would
anymore.
that be all right? Bertie and Helen seem quite certain of the way they open their napkins and place them in a half fold in their laps.
Who does, like, seriously, who does this anymore?
But then everyone is more at ease now that the party has really started. The main thing is that they should enjoy each other's company. Betty and Bob aren't worrying
If
about
they
their
were
mistakes
enjoying
at
each
all.
other's company, I don't think manners would really matter.
They will have to pay more attention to their manners. They know that the object of correct etiquette is not to make life formal and dull,
Yes,
but to
it
make
is.
it fully enjoyable. There
Nope.
are reasons for each act of etiquette, as in a man's assisting a lady with her chair, or the order with which people are...
Awkward
Bob is
silence.
hungry, and the soup looks good.
Soup.
He is using his company manners, but as we see, he is doing at least 3 things wrong.
And those 3 are?
Now that the soup is served, Betty sees that the crackers are passed. Floyd passes the crackers to Dorothea before he helps himself. Should he have helped himself first or not?
Who cares?
Bob is eating before...
If you have the plate, get it.
Apparently the guests are waiting for Betty to pick up her spoon before they begin. Dorothy too starts, and they all... But naturally, the guests give no indication of having noticed any error on Bob's part, since that in itself would be impolite.
How conflicting.
As the relish dish is passed, Bob takes a handful and puts them on his service plate, and back he goes to his soup in the same old way.
For me, I would crush the crackers up and then put them in the soup.
Place their relish differently, and changes them from one plate to the other, knowing there is a reason, but what is it? But having made the change, Bob is glad to see Betty has noticed that he corrected himself. All is well again with the party. No one's enjoyment is being interrupted with any problems for the moment. Betty now is running into some problems of her own, things that she hadn't thought of until now. That elbow on the table isn't one of her problems because she isn't even aware of it. But she is aware of the olive as a problem. Is there a correct way of eating an olive? Shouldn't you just pop it into your mouth and eat it? But then, how do you take out the pit? With
Then
your
serve
fingers?
the olives without
And
the
when you
pit.
have the pit, where should you place it? Floyd
On your
seems to have
plate,
confidence
in a
his
napkin.
way, but also too
Take
many
the napkin out of your lap,
Betty thinks she might
spit
be
it out,
Floyd's way.
and then put it on your plate.
Betty hopes that she doesn't look as awkward as she feels. Now our hostess feels better about the olives, but right away she sees something else. Dorothy is breaking her celery before taking a bite. It has always been just celery. You ate it in whatever lengths you found it. Is it easier to handle in shorter lengths? And does it look like a smaller bite when you dip it in the salt and then bite off a portion?
Dip it in a peanut butter and eat it.
Bernie and Helen don't seem to be concerned with any problems. Bernie eats a radish and simply enjoys it, and he seems certain of himself. Helen is even tipping her soup plate for a last sup. Can that be correct? Certainly her manners aren't interfering with her enjoyment of the party.
It's better than what I would do.
As host,
I'd take the bowl and then just like dip it on that.
At home, his father does the serving. It looked perfectly simple, and it is. But if you were in Bob's place, would you know positively what to do? Which serving implement should he use? Should he just go ahead as best he can? Dorothy is looking away so as not to notice. Bob still isn't sure of what to do, but he can't hesitate forever. That amount seems too much. A lady is not flattered by being offered a portion the size that might appeal to a hungry lumberjack.
How the fuck would you know? That's way too small. Give me more meat.
Betty is worried for Bob, but after all, he is trying. Everyone learns by experience, even when mistakes are made, and one isn't at all sure of anything that he is doing. Bob wonders if the portions he is serving are now too small.
It is.
Should he give a large portion to the men and small ones to the ladies?
How
or should he serve
sexist.
about this amount and let the guests return their plates if they wish a second helping?
How about you pass the plate
Now Betty is about to serve the salad.
and then people serve themselves? Then everyone is happy.
For serving the salad correctly. And what size should the portions of salad be? Is she offering too little? Is she getting a proper assortment? As Betty passes the plate, should she say for whom the plate is intended? Bernie and Helen act as though everything were going smoothly with them. And so really it is. In spite of Betty's worries, there are no mishaps.
Why would, like, these two people matter?
They are enjoying themselves.
Like, what importance are they?
Starting first this time, he waits with the others.
Everyone's checking on what they're doing.
Here is the kind of fun that they all thought of when the party was planned, of having a good meal together and plainly enjoying one another's company. The errors that have been made haven't taken the fun out of the party, and we must remember
What if someone wants more salad?
all the things that have been done correctly. For every mistake made, a dozen things have been done correctly. Bob is feeling more confident of himself. He seems to remember that it is correct to use his knife for cutting lettuce or tomato if they are served in pieces that are too big for a proper bite. What do you think? Is he wrong?
No.
Or is he right? But the person with confidence isn't necessarily the person who is correct. Up until this minute, Betty has been confident that a person should butter his vegetables with his knife. But now that Betty sees Floyd buttering his with his fork, she isn't certain.
See, they're always checking on what these two people are doing.
It seems safer to follow Floyd's example.
Do whatever, your stomach doesn't really care.
Will be too.
Like, if you use a knife or fork to butter vegetables.
One minute he is uneasy, the next overconfident. Now he is forgetting even his company manners and is acting as he usually does in telling one of his favorite stories.
Okay.
Dorothy and Floyd give him their attention when he's looking at them, but at the same time they manage to continue eating while their food is warm. Bob isn't letting the story interfere with his eating either. So let's try counting the number of obvious blunders. The waving of his knife and fork about. Talking with food in his mouth. Monopolizing the conversation. But it is an exciting story. It's about a trip up in the mountains. And then,
Okay, that's the only thing he did wrong.
That Bob had in
And it's
mind.
an accident.
But it is quicker, and maybe better. At least it stopped Bob from making any more mistakes. Betty, too, has discovered that she had forgotten a couple of items of behavior. She is thinking that perhaps she and Bob both need to be embarrassed a bit to make them admit that their manners aren't as good as they should be. Bob may be thinking the same thing, because he certainly looks as if he has decided to make a lot of changes. The others, of course, say nothing.
Because it would be
Besides,
impolite.
The first thing for her to do is to regain her poise. Just act as though no errors had been made. but she will be more observing of her own manners and those of others too. Betty
Why
feels
would
pleased
you
with her way of
nose in
keeping
to
a
see what
room
others are
and
doing
jelly.
to make sure that they're doing manners right too?
Is there anything in what Bert
That means
and Helen
people are going to
doing
judge
that
you.
would get your attention right away? Was there anything in the way he helped himself to more jelly? How about the way he holds his knife and fork? Or the way he cuts his meat? And takes it to his mouth with his left hand. When you are eating
Maybe
meat,
he's
do you
left-handed.
take the meat to your mouth with the fork in your right hand or your left? Is there a question of correctness here?
I don't really
Is
care
also
for me.
using her
Like,
left hand.
I
Holds
do
the
whatever.
fork in her left hand while cutting the meat,
It all ends
but
up in
then
my
passes
mouth
the fork to her
anyway.
right hand for placing it in her mouth. This is zigzag eating. She has noticed that the British and continental people usually use their left hands. But now that she is beginning to take her manners seriously, she wonders if there is a matter of correctness involved, or whether both ways are equally correct. One way American, the other European. Betty wishes she were as certain of that point as she is of how her knife should be placed. Bob has never heard of zigzag or continental ways of eating meat, but he is on the watch out for such things now. And as soon as he notices what Betty is doing, he is ready
This is
to
what
follow her
happens when you
example,
like
whether she is
look
right or
at like
wrong.
towards other people and see what they're doing. It confuses
Even if he does
yourself.
take an oversized bite. Bob congratulates himself on trying a new way. He and Betty have a lot to learn. At least there are no further mishaps as the meat course is finished and the table cleared for dessert. Bob is happy now and is proud of himself. Formal parties like this are really enjoyable when
Formal.
one is afraid
It's a
of doing
birthday
the wrong
party,
thing.
so it's supposed to be formal.
Bob has reached the point where he feels that since his intentions are good and he is watching himself, that all is well. If you just try to figure out what is the reason for each rule of etiquette, you find that the rules are sensible. After all, correct manners are simply the way one person shows his consideration for another. In other words, proper manners are your way of showing common politeness.
Oh, then I must be really impolite.
This is the best birthday he has ever had. And to top it off, a big birthday cake that Betty had made for him. He really appreciates this. For the cake is a symbol, like the whole dinner, of friendship. A very delicious symbol of the regard that Betty and her friends hold for Bob.
The candles aren't on the
particularly
cake.
Betty. The lighting of the birthday cake with candles is an old custom, and so is the blowing out of the candles. But do you suppose the placing of the candles at the side is a modern touch?
Nope.
Avoiding possible germs being blown on the cake. Serving the meat course upset Bob. Apparently serving the cake has its difficulties too. Our hostess
Grown
was
man.
certain that she should be helping Bob. She worried about leaving the table to bring in the cake in the first place. Betty wondered if the serving should be left to the housekeeper. What would you say?
Probably if they're having that much
There is no
difficulty in
denying that
cutting a
Bob needs help.
cake.
He is having trouble with the serving implements again. Do you think he might be able to figure out from the shape and the size of the blades which to use? Cutting and serving your own birthday cake would seem to be a pleasure. But could you actually do
I've
this any
seen
more
turtles
gracefully
run
than Bob
faster
did?
than this.
Betty's help may
This is
not
a
be as
tiny
great as you
slice for
think.
that many people. Is he gonna like serve half the cake to everyone and eat like half the cake for himself?
Are these correct? Bob accompanies Betty to
There's
her
like
place,
6 people.
assisting her with her chair before resuming his serving. He is at least trying to change his habits.
Personally, I don't really care if a guy, pushed my seat in. I'm very capable of doing that myself, thank you.
He is serving smoothly now and is not distracting his friends with his difficulties. They are free again to chat as they wish. And once again, the party is fun. Bob and Betty met more problems than they expected. As we are seeing, people like Betty and Bob, who want to entertain their friends and have good times together, forget that poor manners can really interfere with the fun of the party. There is
Only
no
if you
fun in
make
being
it that way.
unsure or ill at ease.
Look at all that
It is
cake
simpler
that's still
in the long run
left.
to face your problems, find out what the correct answer is, and then when you act in a way that you know for certain,
They probably have like
your mind is
this much of cake like out like in the whole table, and then there's like this giant, you know,
There are still
leftover
habits
cake
that have
like
first been
left.
broken. This is hard. Then new habits have to be formed. But a little study of etiquette will help greatly. And lessons are all practical. Once you have formed correct habits in your manner, you will find that they give you a sense of confidence. That is a reward in itself. Our plan is
Confidence.
ending, but let's hope that
All you've been
forgiveness
talking about is
in another
confusion.
phase, just a beginning. As you think of Betty and Bob and their problems, compare your own manners. Don't forget that it is by their manners that polite people the world around show their consideration for one another. A dinner party is just one way of enjoying company of your friends. A good meal, good company, real enjoyment, that's what a dinner party is for.
A dinner party is to have fun. Oh well. See you guys next time. Tune in later.